Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time for the Esports Connection, the one place where the esports industry goes to connect. Streaming to you live from, well, we'll call it the center of the esports universe, certainly here in Southern California at the University of California, Irvine's Beal Applied Innovation Center, with the man sitting in the chair, sitting at the center, Harrison Griffith. Hey, Harrison.
How's it going, Paul?
I'm going good. Let's get you on camera here. There you are.
Hello,
Wave to the
everyone.
folks there.
Can't see myself, but I know you can see me. That's all right.
The Esports Connection. We are connecting to people in places I couldn't have imagined when we started this just a couple of weeks ago here. We had the director of the esports program at Irvine Valley College in here recently. Next show, we've got the director of esports program here at the University of California, Irvine. But we took a road trip. What a road trip it was.
That's right. It wasn't just a road trip. Paul conquered his fear of flying on this trip.
I did.
He flew and then he drove back with us. We went to Las Vegas to visit the LVL UP EXPO. It wasn't too long of a drive, driving here from Southern California, but still a trip.
I don't know which was trippier. Me hopping on a plane, because I haven't been on one in so long, and I feel get so claustrophobic when sitting on a plane. Or when my plane got canceled, on the way back, hopping in the car with you guys in this little, I'm a big guy, and I'm in this little car that you guys have, this little Prius, and it was kind of wild. We saw a few sights along the way. In fact, we got you to stop at Baker, which has the largest thermometer in the world, and the home of
alien jerky, but the real claim to fame is the thermometer, which, by the way, is just a screen.
Oh,
it's a large screen, but there's larger screens in China. It's not actually a big thing made out of mercury and glass.
Well,
it's very misleading.
Very misleading. But the alien jerky, that was pretty cool.
Absolutely, it was. But yeah, no, that was the real attraction of that. But yeah, no, Las Vegas was a lot of fun. Got to see a little bit of the side of tournaments on the larger side. Paul learned what anime was for the first time in his entire life.
I did. Let's talk about that for a second, because it was a combination. It was a 3-day extravaganza in Las Vegas at the convention center, and I thought it was mostly a tournament. It was that in the back half.
I'd say it was that was only like a sixth of the space that was utilized. I would say was for the tournaments.
What really amazed me is the whole front half of the room. Hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors and thousands, I mean literally thousands of people, most of whom were dressed up in costumes. What you guys love to call cosplay, right?
Yeah, that cosplay, another concept that they were introduced to that weekend. But yeah, no, Paul and my dad, David, had never heard of anime or cosplay before this. So they thought they were going to some Smash Brothers tournament. And then they get there and they see people with this insane hair, wacky costumes, from all types of franchises that they don't recognize, obviously.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, what the heck is going on over here?
Heck
Why is everyone dressed up? What's the point? Is there a costume contest or something? Which sometimes those conventions do have costume contests. So.
And I think they might have here too, but it really was just a community that wants to come together. And guys, I mean, I'm talking girls with little, elf ears on and full-blown costumes. The wildest guy, there was a huge guy, this African-American guy, and he's dressed in like a tutu, playing some kind. I don't know. He didn't seem like that's the way he would dress in the day. He seemed like a big burly cop to me, but I don't know. He just decided he was going to dress as this fairy-style character, from some fantasy he'd seen somewhere here. I mean, wild stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't have that much familiarity with Japanese animation. I'm assuming. I mean, you probably heard of Dragon Ball Z. I'm assuming. Have you heard of Dragon Ball Z,
I think I have. Wasn't that a movie or a series or something?
It was a TV show and it was a couple movies, but yeah, no. So that's a pretty mainstream one, and it's kind of slowly been popularized in America over the last decade.
So how would you describe anime to people who haven't seen it? It's a stylized kind of cartoon character with the girls have big doe eyes, big.
That's usually what characterizes it, is the big eyes that are styled. But there's a lot of variance within that style, but it generally does follow a formula, and it originally was started as a way to save money and in animation cells. So the idea was that you could just have like one animation cell that was like the face of a character, and you reuse that a million times rather than, that's why there's always in these animes, they have these very lengthy scenes where the character transforms and they change costume.
Got it.
And that's so they can reuse that in like later episodes. Well, she also transforms in the later episode. What a convenient thing. We could reuse this.
It sort of reminds me,
asset.
and you won't remember this. You'll have to go look up these references. But when I was a kid, there were some cheap cartoons where the cartoon, it was really just kind of its still image would come up, and then you'd see the mouth moving, and it was like Clutch Cargo. Or it was later it got better. It was Johnny Quest or something. But they were kind of these cheap cartoons that didn't really move too much, but they had big faces and these corny expressions, and I don't know. That's what
we've come a long way since Steamboat Willie. That's for sure.
The original. This is their 100th anniversary, I believe, of Steamboat Willie, the original Mickey Mouse. We had somebody from Disneyland in here the other day.
Wow.
So it is amazing to me that many people want to dress up and celebrate together. What is equally amazing to me is the kind of people that did it. Let's play a couple of these interviews here. There were whole families. Because first of all, you have to understand, at least to me, from my outside perspective, a lot of this is pretty sexualized. These girls look pretty sexy in the little elf costumes and stuff here, skimpy little outfits and whatnot here. So there was a lot of sexuality there, and yet there were also a lot of families. Mom, dad's dressed up, and the kids are dressed up. We talked to some of them here.
It's a little hard to square that, but it's not the worst thing happening in Las Vegas.
No,
we'll just say that.
Clearly. But they would look past the kind of more sexualized content, and they just thought it was great. The kids are into, I think this couple, let's play one here. I think weren't they dressed as like the Mario Brothers or something here? There were two families there with their kids here. Let's play one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Esports Connection. We're over here at the Level Up Expo with Nikki and her kids. How are you doing, Nikki?
Doing good.
Doing good? Okay, that's great to hear. So, Nikki, we heard you've been coming to this convention for quite a few years now. Is that right?
Right. This is our 4th year coming, I believe.
4th year now. Nice. Okay, so what would you say keeps you coming back each year?
Mostly, we love seeing all the different cosplays. And then, as you can see, I'm like a collector of pins, and I like all the vendors that are in there as well. And then just my 2 kids, they love dressing up for this every year. So it's just a good time with the family.
Great. Now, Kai, I feel like I might recognize your cosplay. Are you cosplaying as the character from Little Nightmares? Could you tell me a little about the character you're cosplaying as?
My character, they're basically like their only child, all right? Like they're the only child on this huge ship in the middle of the ocean, and it's somewhere in the future, and they have a lot of these different powers. And the game itself, it's kind of it's more like platforming and adventure type, but it's got that horror elements.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything that I've seen of the game looks too scary for me, so I'm very impressed that you yourself are able to not only play but probably beat it and get all the lore absorbed. So that's really cool, Kai.
I'm going to cut that off there. There's more of it. We'll put it in some the video versions
Just
of this
a
you
little
can
bit
watch
of
too.
teaser.
Little teaser there. So here's a family, mom, dad, a couple families, and their young kids. Kids got to be 6, 8, 10, something like that, or whatever here.
Yeah, pretty young.
And you recognize the characters. These are from what, games or something?
They are from games, and I think the other girl there was from a Mario Brothers title. So I did recognize them. But that's because they're on the gamer side of it. That's where I'm on. I'm actually not that familiar with all the anime costumes that were out there. I probably didn't recognize about 60% of them.
But the people did, and they would come up and say, oh, is this that? And great. And some of these people went to enormous lengths to do that. Let me play one of them here. This was a guy who was dressed up as a moose, as I recall. I mean, some of these people put elaborate, at least to look like a moose to me.
Well, no, actually, that was just his nickname.
Oh, that was his nickname, right. What was he dressed up as? I'm trying to remember.
He actually wasn't in costume. This was one of the esports guys, actually.
Oh, okay, I'll save that one then. Let's do the other one here. Let's see what this one.
The girls that were cosplaying.
Yeah, let's do these two.
They had a little bit of a harder time recognizing their costumes.
All right, let's play that.
Okay, nice to meet you both. I know, Paul. Okay, so you are Hi there. I'm here with Jess and
Roma.
Roma, and they are cosplaying over here at the Level Up Expo. So now, Roma, I recognize your cosplay as Princess Fiona. Or wait, no, not Princess Fiona. Sorry, Fiona. I'm spoiling the plot a little bit. But who are you dressed up as?
Draculaura from Monster High.
So have you seen anybody else from any other franchises that are the same franchises that you've dressed up as here?
Yeah, I've seen a few people with my same costume.
I think I saw 2 Draculauras, but no other Monster High characters.
So you're probably the most popular one then, huh? That makes sense. Okay, I'm a big fan of like vampire stuff like Dracula in general, but I've never actually heard of I guess it's like a female Dracula, is that?
It's a popular doll from like the 2010s. So when I was a little kid, I had a lot of Monster High dolls, and so I dressed up for Monster High when I was in elementary school for Halloween, and I wanted to bring that back and, you know, redo the costume.
That's really cool. So yeah, I think your mom mentioned that you were really big into Halloween. Was that kind of the genesis of this like kind of discovery that you liked wearing costumes?
I mean, when I was little, I used to be obsessed with dressing up, and all through middle school, I actually went to these conventions, and I haven't been in like 3 years. So it's more of like a nostalgic kind of experience for me.
Cool. Do you remember your earliest convention?
Yeah, I do. It was in 7th grade, I think. It was Sabacon, and I started like a 100 people Congo line. Yeah, and it was pretty fun, even though my wig was all the way back here and it looked like I had a 6 head.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So yeah, it seems like these conventions seem to be like a hybrid of anime fans and kind of gamers. Yeah, like especially this one, and there's definitely more of a gender divide there too. Also, I'd say the gaming part of the convention is definitely mostly men, but all of the like really good, like really dedicated cosplayers who have nice costumes, I feel like are women, but not to say that there's guys, because a lot of the guys they're wearing costumes with like masks on, right? So I can't actually tell if it's a guy or not, but. You know, but what are your thoughts on that? And do you think that more guys should get involved in cosplay?
I think there's, for a lot of guys, there's like a stigma against, I mean, a lot of men are like afraid to sew because it's seen as a very, like, feminine thing to do. But I feel like sewing's for everyone, especially at a cosplay convention where you need to sew for a lot of costumes.
Okay, well, I'll leave it there. You can watch the full thing again. We'll show the full interview on YouTube. What do you think? Would you dress up like a duck or whatever, or some character, prince somebody here? I don't know.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's just like Halloween, you know?
It is like
Seems,
Halloween. It was
you know,
one giant.
but in broad daylight.
You know what it reminded me of? And I've never been to one, but I am a Star Trek fan since a little kid, and people go to these conventions and they dress up as, or the Star Wars versions, they dress up as all the Star Wars characters and stuff, and they all show up just like kind of Halloween. And everybody gets a kick because everybody's, you know, interacting with each other like they're the characters, are trying to guess who's who, and amazed, wow, look at that one, getting their picture taken. People all over the place. Some of these people were very entrepreneurial. The more elaborate ones held up a sign, you want to take a picture with me, it's like $5 or $2 or something here. But there was some really...
There was
really...
one girl who had a sign that said, "I'll slap you for $5." Did you see that one?
I missed that one somehow.
So,
I would have
yeah,
paid for
very
that.
creative entrepreneurial. I don't know if she had a creator badge, permission to do that.
So hundreds of people selling what? What kind of stuff did you see? You bought some stuff, swords and all sorts of other props for cosplay and...
Yeah, well, it's just like if you've ever been to a comic convention,
Yes.
there's a lot of overlap there. But
Very
you know,
similar.
there's a lot of knickknacks, toys, a lot of tchotchke.
Yep.
There's a Lego booth, but you know, there's also people selling comics and like graphic novels, figurines,
Yeah.
a lot of art, a lot of people selling like posters and prints of their artwork. That's probably the most common type of booth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were also different booths promoting different esports companies, which you can actually play. Is the last interview there in the file if you want to play that. But
Was that this one?
yeah, that was a
Let's try this one. Let's see if this is the guy that was talking about designing games. Is that?
Yep.
That's right. Let's see.
So, hello there. We're coming back with the Esports Connection. I am your host, Harrison Griffith, and I am here with Iro, who is the head of the Las Vegas Inferno esports connection or esports group. So could you tell me a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, so we're the official esports team in Las Vegas. We primarily focus on Madden, 2K, Rocket League, League of Legends, Apex Legends. We were back in the day Call of Duty. We have brand ambassadors from the Vegas Golden Knights like Logan Thompson, UFC fighter Edgar Gonzalez, your normal TikTokers, your Twitch streamers, all that fun stuff.
That's cool. So why is your esports organization separate from the gaming section, if I may ask?
So this is our second year doing this at a community booth, and we're getting too big for the community side of things. So we're planning on next year to do a bigger one up there in the front of Level Up Expo. But we wanted to test the booth here and see how it works. And now that we're getting a little bit too big, it's time to go up there now. So.
Well, that's cool. I noticed you listed a lot of sports games there, like Madden. Now, usually when people think of esports, people think of like League of Legends or Valorant. What would you say are the main differences for both the audiences and both the competitors of sports games as opposed to traditional esports?
Differences as far as spectating, there's not really too much of a difference spectating traditional sports versus esports. And I say that because if you're watching, for example, football, right? You're watching a player play football and you're watching for entertainment. The same thing as esports. So let's take Madden because it's a football game. Madden, there's a professional Madden players, and you're watching another guy play the same thing. Madden, they're good at what they do, right? The reason you're not doing it now as a spectator is because you're not good enough to do it. So you watch others do it for entertainment. Same thing as esports.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, everybody loves to see the top level of gameplay. That's why the top eights are on the last day like this, because they know that people are just going to come out in droves to see the top players compete. All right, well, thank you very much. For a closing question, I'd just like to ask you very generally, what's your favorite video game? Doesn't necessarily have to be an esport.
Call of Duty, 100%.
Call of Duty, which Call of Duty out of all the franchise would you say is your favorite?
Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2, amazing. Thank you so much. It was great to have you. I'm Harrison Griffith with the Esports Connection at Level Up Expo, and we'll see you next time.
So there you have it. There's a whole nother take on that. Now we're getting into the gaming side of it, from the anime side, the cosplay side, to the gaming clubs. There were people showing new titles out there. There was a mystery game that they had laid out.
And there was also a booth dedicated to VR, which is where we did VR for the very first time.
Let's talk about that for a second, and then we'll end with some of the players that you talked to in the actual tournament that you competed in. I thought that was my takeaway. Not just there is a whole world of people like Star Trek conventions, like comic book conventions, that love to dress up in fantasy characters and buy all the paraphernalia and the artwork and the props and everything that go with it. But it kind of goes hand in hand, he said, with the TikTokers and the YouTubers and people who are out doing something else, particularly in esports. They're playing, they're competing, or they're watching people play and compete, and it could be across the whole board. I think the guys that had a big booth set up there thought, and I think there's something to this, I'll be curious to get your feedback, that VR may be a whole nother level, because you're not now just watching something or moving a mouse to make something happen, which is hard. I get it. You're watching somebody do something that you can't do. But now you got to move your body too. When you're sword fighting, you're really fighting with a sword. So now it's not just your eye-hand coordination with the controller. You got to be a swordsman. You got to block the sword and do all this stuff here. Or a tennis player or a basketball player, whatever. It seemed like that has another physicality to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't really require you to be too much more physically active. I mean, we'd have the Nintendo Wii for years.
Sure.
So it's, it's not exactly a new element. But what the technology that's improving is the headset element, and
Wasn't it
visually
wild?
it's
Put that on?
just keeps getting more and more accurate, to the point where I would say like it was pretty much 1-to-1. Like when I moved it, like it felt like I was like, obviously it's a screen, and that's different from how you experience real life.
And you
but
could
it's hard
look
to
left.
describe, but it's like you're moving. It's like you're moving your own field of vision, but it's obviously smaller because it's not
Yes.
your full field of vision.
And what I found amazing is it's obviously a fake world. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that realistic yet. But yet when the ball comes at you or the sword comes to hit you, you duck.
Yeah, you instinctually move and get out of the way.
Yeah, and then you say, what am I
Because
ducking
it works.
for?
Because when you move in the game. That's how you move.
Yeah. So I find myself, even though I'm trying not to get hit with the sword, so yes, I got to move my head to avoid getting hit with the sword, I found myself just instinctually doing that. When the sword comes at you, the ball comes at you, something comes flying at you, your brain sees it as real enough, even though it's still pretty fake looking.
Yeah.
It's real enough
It
that you
still
instinctively
looks
duck.
polygonal. It's still clearly a video game graphic, you
Right.
know, and it doesn't have the same way that light hits it, you know, like a real sword. Like, it doesn't even look like a real sword. It just looks like a blank, like, ribbon, like a
Yeah.
monocolor. And yet when it comes at you, you instinctually just gotta move, you
Yeah.
know, because that's how you get away from it.
I think that was wild. So that's what I think, as that improves and gets better, their theory was that's a whole new type of esport that's going to open up, where you're going to be actually competing with people on headsets and hand controllers, because the hand controller, that's how you fired and did other things, rather than just a static. You're looking at a flat screen and sitting there with a controller. I don't know if you think that's big deal, but that was the future. Everything that you could imagine and more. So let's end with talking about the actual tournament itself. Big deal. They were competing in what, 3 or 4 different games?
There was a lot more than 4 games.
Was there?
There was 2 Smash Bros. Games alone, but on top of that, they had Mario Kart, Tekken, which is another fighting game, Street Fighter, another fighting game, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
On top of which we didn't even get a chance to see at all, they had several card game tournaments happening also.
Oh,
so it was
I missed that.
We had completely missed out on that. But yeah, we mostly stuck to the gaming side of it, and hung out in the back of the convention center. And
So
tried to
giant,
get a feel for that.
these massive screens back there, that, like you'd see in
big
a
projectors. Yeah.
Yeah, like you'd see in a giant stadium or a club or something here, just giant screens filled with, and hundreds and hundreds of people back there watching. Your tournament alone, we made you enter one of the tournaments. You entered one of the Smash Bros. Tournaments,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
And there was about 400 plus people in it,
About
roughly.
400, yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, our cohort. I didn't think you were going to last more than a round or two. These are like some of the. There was a lot of people like
The best of the best.
the best of the best. You made it to the top 50. I think you came in 49th.
49th, yeah.
Out of 400 some people. That's pretty darn good. Top 10%.
Yeah, not terrible.
Not terrible at
not
all.
the worst, yeah.
Were you surprised or that you did
I
that?
mean, that
well?
was about what I expected myself to get. Honestly, that was my expectation going in, was I would get
And what was the difference
at
between
least top 64.
What was the difference between the first few rounds where you're pretty confident I could beat these people, and then it starts getting tougher? Talk about that transition to when you start getting into the top 10. Does the play go up? Is it they're just faster? They got more moves, or?
Well, the big thing is the games take longer in between. The later you get, I would say, especially if you're in the winners bracket, because you have to wait for so many other people to finish their matches
Yeah.
before you can play somebody. So you really just got to remember to play practice games in between those and stay warmed up. So that's like the biggest thing, I think, is the difference. But
I didn't realize the mental challenge. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but it is a competition. So you're playing 1-on-1. There's an intense few minutes there. You're trying to play 2 out of 3, win 2 out of 3 matches. or
yeah, the
something.
later games are best 3 out of 5.
And so then you got to wait around, and there's sort of an anticipation that builds up, and the smarter players like you are practicing in between. There are all these other consoles you could practice on and play on, or other people would walk up and play with you, and then they call your match, and you go up, and the pressure starts mounting. People start watching you. There were people watching you, gathering around and watching you play and whatnot, and it goes all day. I mean, this is a long day.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine if you had to come back the next day
And keep playing.
and keep playing. I talk about that. Were you ready for that kind of mental, physical, I don't know, what would you call it, pressure or just stamina?
If I was going to be making it to the second day, which would be the top 8 or the top 16, something would have had to go on seriously right for me. The odds of that happening, I knew, were pretty slim, which is, we weren't even planning on staying all 3 days of the convention, but
No.
we ended up, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Because the third day ended up being a lot of fun, and we would have had to pick you up from the airport hours later and wasted a ton of time.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we benefited by staying that third day was to see the finals, or to see some of the top players play. And one of them
was Hacks Money.
Hacks Money.
The Super Smash Bros. Melee player.
And he has been, we won't go into all that, but he's been a little controversial over the years in playing. He's been a top player. He's maybe not as in the same ranking he was a couple of years ago, but he also creates a unique console, which he calls what, the box? What is he?
The B0XX, but yeah, it's called the box.
And it's a different, describe it. It's a different console. The controls are laid out different. There's different keys that you can hit, and the idea is that you can perform faster, right?
That's right.
Nick, do you think that's cheating? No, maybe. You're smiling a little, because some people, I heard that saying, oh, that's like cheating. You know, it's a faster way to move your hands, and it's more ergonomic.
There's disadvantages to it. I think that until people start winning tournaments with it, it's probably not something you need to be concerned with. And that's my position on pretty much most things. Like, you can argue that something is like, oh, this is breaking the game, or this is like cheating, but it's like, okay, but if the people who are quote unquote cheating are still losing, then does it really matter even? You know?
But if they start winning, then others will want to follow.
Winning. But if they start, I think that not only do they have to start winning, because the thing is, this guy was winning before he had the box. He was winning when he was playing with a GameCube controller, so you have to keep that in mind too. I think you have to be winning, and also the fact that you're winning with this new controller forces other top players to switch to the controller too.
Right.
I think at that point you can ban it, but I think before that it's probably not justified.
Or accept it. Maybe that's because maybe that does take the game to an even faster level. Maybe you can move faster. That's the theory behind all this.
You know?
All right, well, let's play that interview, because that was a rarity.
Hacks Money interview.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Harrison Griffith. I'm your host of the Esports Connection. We're reporting live from the LVL UP EXPO, and I'm here with Aziz Hacks Money. How's it going, Hacks?
How's it going, dude?
So Hacks just played against Amsa, the #1 player in Japan, and he was playing Fox with this amazing little device here called the box. So Hacks, can you tell us a little bit about this?
The box is a controller that I invented back in 2017 to help with hand problems, because I was out of the game during that time period. I couldn't play for like the 2 years before that. So I created this controller, and now a lot of people around the world use it, actually, a couple thousand people.
Yeah, no, it's very true. He's not the only top player who's had hand issues that have caused him issues playing. There's also, as I recall, Mewtwo King has hand issues as well. So what is it about the box specifically? I don't know if we can get too much into ergonomics right now that helps you with hand issues.
It distributes the stress among more fingers than the GameCube controller. If you're using a GameCube controller, you can run into big problems with the left thumb in particular. That's where I've got most of my injuries from. So just the fact that you're using 10 fingers to command your character is it's more ergonomic.
Oh, that's huge. That's definitely something to consider. So where can people buy this wonderful product if they want?
They can buy this wonderful product at box.com. That's B0XX.com. And we are currently shipping approximately 2 months after the order is placed, which is not too bad of a turnover rate.
That's great. Hey, I'll take that. So just a few last questions, Hacks. How does it feel to finally be back on the stage after so long?
It's pretty good. I kept training for the past couple of years, so now being at tournaments again is really nice. I think it'll take me a couple to get back in my groove.
Well, I mean, making top 8 at a major tournament like this on your first tournament back, that's pretty damn good. I will say so myself. So thank you very much, Hacks. Thank you for these quick questions. We appreciate having you here. Thanks. And this is the Esports Connection out.
That was amazing to me. That was the culmination of our entire trip. We started watching in the front the crazy cosplay, from cute, sexy girls to bizarre characters to families having fun. We ended up trying some of the future VR games. We saw some other games that are trying to break into the market here. And we saw some of the top players in the world, like this guy.
That's
play
right.
out
And
here.
Paul here is the #1 Hacks fan.
I am.
He is a Hacks fanatic.
I think this guy, he's done what few have done. He's created a name for himself. I mean, not just within the community. And now some of it is controversy. I get it. Some of it's creativity, like coming up with products. But I respect people that do both, that win and draw attention, and at the same time try and do something to help the game here. So, and again, it points out that this is not a this is not just a couch potato world. You can actually get physical injuries, mostly
Well, I mean,
hand stress issues.
a
and stuff.
hand issue from playing video games too much is kind of a couch potato injury.
I guess
you can
so.
absolutely be a couch potato and get
I
that
guess so.
injury.
But to get to this level, you got to really push your hands
Uh-huh.
to a point where you can, like, typing too fast. Or
Well,
doing
especially
something
the
else.
character that he plays, Fox, is like by far the fastest character, I think, in all of fighting games.
Really?
You know, it requires the most. You're pressing 7 buttons a second, or 7 inputs a second on average if you're
Wow.
playing that character,
Wow.
which is crazy over the
And
course.
is that why I don't know much about the 80-some characters in your game, but I gather not many people play his character.
Well, in his game, Super Smash Bros. Melee, there's only 28 characters because it's an
Okay.
older version of the game, right? But most people actually play that character because he's widely regarded as the best.
Ah, okay.
And yeah.
And which character do you play? The other game with 81 characters, and you play one that's not as well.
Not regarded as a good character, especially as time goes on.
Well,
It's not looking.
maybe you have to switch to get into the top 8 from the top 48. I don't know.
I was thinking about that earlier today, actually.
You might have to pick a new character or get a little edge up, get a
Or
box
get
or
a
something.
different character.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it was a different time for me. What's your takeaway? Final thoughts, quick thoughts. What'd you think of it? It was pretty cool, first of all.
Final thoughts, very cool. It was also my first tournament in Smash Bros. That was that big,
Yeah.
it was of that scale.
All the more impressive as well as you did. You've played in little local events, 10, 20 people, never
Yeah.
something on that kind of, never on the big stage, on the big scale like that. So
Exactly.
congratulations to you on that. And we look forward to covering more events here at the Esports Connection. Come back each and every time as we connect you to more of what's happening in the esports world. Streaming live from our studios here at the OC Talk Radio Network. Streaming live from the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.